Hello yogis. In this video we're going to be journeying to Hanumanasana, also known as the splits. So I had planned on making this a level 2 sequence to the splits, but the day before filming this I pivoted wrong and kind of pulled something weird at the back of my left knee. So my body was asking for something a little more gentle. So that's what we're going to do, a nice all levels, mellow, feel-good flow working up to the splits. So let's start at the top of our mat in a comfortable seat. You can kneel, you can take Sukhasana, whatever position you'd like. Palms up or down, eyes closed, and shoulders softening away from the ears. We're going to take these first few moments in a nice quiet meditation as you begin to breathe deeply and arrive into your body and arrive onto your mat. At this point, I invite you to set your intention for your practice. What piece of your heart, what piece of yourself will you infuse into this time spent on your mat? Let's seal these intentions in together by taking a deep breath in and a big sigh out through the mouth. Go ahead and keep your eyes closed and stretch the arms up and overhead. Take a nice gentle back bend, interlacing your fingers behind your head, elbows wide, making this feel good, like you're stretching after sitting in your desk a long time. Then come into tabletop, toes tucked. Inhale, cow pose, arch the spine. Exhale, cat pose, round the spine. Take this opportunity to close your eyes, continue arriving into your body, now starting to sync your breath with your movement, letting your intuition take over, moving in a way that feels really, really good and really delicious in your body. Take one more round of breath, and then sink your hips back to your heels, find child's pose. Inhale, press back up through tabletop, straighten the legs. Exhale, drop the hips, bend the elbows, find a gentle back bend. Inhale through cow pose. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale, up through cat pose. Exhale, lower the hips, back bend. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale, cat pose. Exhale, back bend. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale. Exhale to back bend. Inhale to flow back. Exhale, child's pose. Again, inhale to rise. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale, rise to tabletop. Spin your left shin bone to the side. Open up to gate pose or supported side plank. And start to take big circles with your right arm. Starting to warm up the heart, warm up the shoulders. Firmly press down through everything, making contact with your mat, lifting your hips as high as they can go. Enjoying this nice side stretch, and then return back down to tabletop, switch sides. Open up, spin your left arm around. Go as fast or as slow as you'd like. Breathing deep into your left ribs. And then return to tabletop. Curl your toes, find downward facing dog. Take a few breaths here, pedal out the feet. Give the head a shake, let the hips sway from side to side, and start to warm your body up for this shape. Inhale, lift your right leg up nice and high, bend the knee, open the hip, just like a little scorpion tail. Exhale, pull your knee to your nose, step the foot forward, come into a low lunge, back knee drops. Inhale, press down to rise up, stretch the arms up, biceps by your ears, shoulder blades lifting up. Do your best to find a neutral pelvis, hip points pointing straight forward, and then start to sink in nice and deep. So you feel that nice opening through the front of the left thigh. Interlace your hands behind your head, elbows wide, lean back into a back bend that feels really nice. Inhale, come back up, reach the arms up. Exhale, hip stack over your back knee, lengthen your stance if needed, finding half splits. Inhale, halfway lift, maybe bring your hands to blocks. And then exhale, fold, doing your best to keep your spine as straight as possible. This will encourage a tilt of your pelvis and a better, deeper stretch through the hamstring. As much as you're thinking of depth, think also about length. Inhale, come back, dropping your front knee forward, hands to your instep. Lizard lunge, untuck your back toes. Start to lower yourself down to your forearms, or perhaps bring your forearms down to blocks, opening up the front outer hip. Inhale, come back up to your hands. Bring your right arm behind you, look behind you. Bend your back knee and do your best to find your toes. If you can't quite reach them, that's okay. Just keep reaching for them. Otherwise, find your toes and start to pull the heel inwards, getting a stretch through the front of your left thigh. Open your heart, lean back, chin away from your chest. Release your foot down carefully. Grab a block. Bring both hands to your block and now start to lift your heart. So a really deep smushy low lunge. Back toes can be tucked or untucked. Lean the head back, squeeze your shoulder blades back, and find a nice arch. Return your hands down to your mat. Step your back foot in about 3 feet from the front foot, coming into pyramid pose. Back foot at a 45-degree angle with your heel down. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen your low back. Exhale, keep that low back long as you fold. Imagine you're trying to draw your chin to your shin, or your eyes towards your toes, rather than thinking about knee to nose. Do your best to not round the spine and keep everything lengthened. Inhale, halfway lift again. Exhale, refold. Maintain that length. Inhale, halfway lift. Bring your fingertips forward of your front foot and lift your back leg up, coming into standing splits. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, pour your weight forward into your toes. Lean forward like a waterfall over that front leg and lift your left leg as high as it can go. Drop your head. Look to whatever is behind you. See if you can see your floating toes. Lift them a bit higher than you think you can. Hold. Good. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, tap your back toes down. Drop your back knee down. Bring your palms to frame your front foot. Step back to plank. Inhale in your plank. Exhale, drop your hips. Take a back bend. Softening your elbows, untuck the toes. Inhale through cow. Exhale, child's pose. Give your legs a bit of a rest and let your forehead feel really heavy on your mat, perhaps rocking your head side to side. Let's meet in downward facing dog. Take a few breaths here, returning to your intention, syncing your breath, maybe closing the eyes. Inhale, lift your left leg up high, straight and strong, bend the knee, open the hip. Inhale. Exhale, knee to nose, step your foot forward, drop your back knee, low lunge. Inhale, rise up, hips over back knee, neutralize your pelvis, and then sink forward as much as you can. It might only be an inch or two. Feel that stretch in your right front hip. Take an inhale. Exhale, hands dust the back of your head, elbows really wide as you lean back into your back bend. Maybe hips sink forward a little bit more. Exhales to soften. Inhale, arms up, hands plant. Sink your hips back over your back knee. Adjust your front leg if needed, perhaps hands to blocks. Inhale, halfway lift, really long in the low back. Exhale, fold to the inside of your front leg. Keep your front foot flexed. This has nothing to do with the knee. Keeping your front foot flexed just ensures you're feeling the stretch through your calf muscle as well. Trying to stretch the entirety of the leg, not just the hamstrings. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold again. Inhale, rise up, front knee over front ankle, hands to instep. Walk your front foot towards the left just a touch. Find lizard lunge. Lower your elbows as much as you comfortably can, starting to work into that front outer hip. Inhale, rise back up. Send your left arm up and back, reach to your back foot, bend your back knee. and do your best to find your toes. Again, if you can't reach them, use your strength, hold the foot there in space. Otherwise, find your foot and start to draw it in, keeping your hips feeling heavy. Hanumanasana, or the splits, is actually a back bend, which is why we're doing so much spine extension and front body opening, as that's just as important as opening the back of the legs. Slowly release your back foot down with control. Left hand comes back down. Grab a block, rise up. Now let's accentuate that back bend, hips heavy, lean back. Let this feel good. Inhale, pull yourself back up, nice and slow. Hands plant, step your back foot in, coming into your pyramid pose. A nice short stance. Again, you could bring blocks underneath your hands, as I'm doing here. It can feel really grounding. Inhale to halfway lift and exhale to fold. Think about drawing your left hip back and up and your right hip forward and down. Inhale, take another halfway lift. Exhale, refold. Remember to accentuate that length in the low back, almost imagining that you're trying to arch the low back. Inhale, halfway lift, frame your foot. Exhale, pour your weight forward into your toes and fold, coming into standing splits. Really exaggerate bringing your weight forward. It'll bring your hips right over your heels. It'll challenge your balance. And then drop your head, look behind you. Look to your floating toes. Ask them to lift higher than you think they can go. Good. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, lower your back foot down. Plant your hands. Step back to plank. Inhale and plank. Exhale, drop the hips, soften the elbows, shoulder blades squeeze back. Downward facing dog, exhale. Lower down to child's pose. Take a few moments of rest. Inhale, rise up to downward dog. Lift your right leg up high. Exhale, step it forward to the top of your mat. Turn to the long side of your mat. Toes in, heels out, so your feet are parallel. Halfway lift, inhale, long spine, and exhale, fold. You should feel a bit of opening through the hamstrings, perhaps even through the inner thighs. Inhale, halfway lift again, and exhale, refold. Squeeze your shoulders away from your ears, maybe give the head a shake. Move your hands underneath your elbows. Imagine your head is feeling heavier and heavier as it draws down towards your mat. Take a few soothing breaths here. Inhale, halfway lift, left hand under your face, open up to the right. Twist. Lower your hand down, open your left arm. Twist. Lower your left arm down, turn your toes out, and sink into your left knee towards the back of your mat, coming into Skandasana. Right toes point up towards the ceiling. Hands to the mat or perhaps to your heart center for a little extra challenge. Inhale, pass through center. Exhale, bend your right knee, left toes point up. You can adjust your stance if needed. Feel that stretch in your inner thigh, and then inhale, press up, back through center. Exhale, fold straight through center. Inhale, turn back to the front of your mat. Step forward, pyramid pose again, perhaps grabbing blocks for under your hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, bow to the inside of your front leg. Maybe if you want, you can step your back foot back a little bit more, adding a little bit more challenge and sensation to that front hamstring. Inhale, lift your left leg up high. Exhale, step it forward and find your wide leg forward fold again. But since this is our second time here, let's emphasize that stretch to the inner thighs a bit more. Walk your feet out as wide as they can comfortably go on your mat, perhaps lowering down to your forearms or to blocks, as I'm doing here, for a center split. It's important to remember that the hip socket is 360 degrees. It's a cup. So we're not just focusing on the back of the legs, we're not just focusing on the front of the legs, we're also doing the inner thighs and outer hips. So that we have all this mobility through the hip socket to find our comfortable splits later on. Take some deep breaths here, head nice and heavy. Again, weight forward into those toes. Think about your hips in line with your heels. Inhale, halfway lift to come out nice and slow. Toe heel your feet back in. Take a moment. Turn your toes out. Find Skandasana to the back of your mat. Inhale, center. Exhale, Skandasana to the front of your mat. Turn all the way forward. Step your back foot in into pyramid. Maybe using blocks. Inhale, long spine, maybe arch the low back. Exhale, fold to the inside of that front leg. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plank. Inhale, plank. Exhale, back bend. Inhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, roll forward to plank and find your way onto your tummy. Come into Sphinx Pose. Elbows underneath your shoulders, so you're propped up, arms at an 11. Untuck your back toes. Take your right hand to a 45-degree angle so it's touching your left wrist. If you already feel a back bend here, bring your front arm forward as I just did, so it's less of a back bend and you're just kind of propped up. Otherwise, if you were comfortable there, keep it where it was. Bend your left knee, and then take a look at my low back. This is me with my core engaging. You can see how my low back lengthens, and this is me just kind of hanging out. So engage your core, draw your navel up, lengthen your low back, and then reach back to find your toes. Keeping your core engaged is going to help you maintain a neutral pelvis, and it's going to really emphasize the sensation in the front of your quad. You can grab anywhere on your leg. You can grab the side of your shin, your ankle, your foot. But if you're pretty flexible in the front of the leg, you may want to take the position I'm taking with my fingers forward, elbow lifted. Very slowly unwind. Come back to neutral and set up for the other side. Left arm to that 45 degree. Adjust as needed. Engage your core. Draw your navel up. bend your right knee. Reach back with your right hand, find whatever is available to you. If you need more, again, fingertips turn forward, elbow lifts up, push into your left arm to arch the spine if you need more. This is called half frog pose. It's really great for getting the whole front body prepped for back bending. Also really good if you sit a lot during the day and your front body is really compressed from being in a chair. Let your right leg go, stack your hands, rest your forehead down, bend your knees, and windshield wiper the legs side to side. Bring your hands next to your chest, press yourself up into tabletop, and then downward facing dog. Lift your right leg. Exhale, step it forward and drop your back knee down. Move your right foot towards the right side of your mat, hands to your instep, spine long but hips heavy, propped up lizard lunge. Inhale, float back, half splits. Exhale, fold to the inseam of the front leg, remembering keep your heart long and adjust that front leg's length if needed. These are our last rounds of openers before we move to splits. So really use your breath to sink in. Inhale, halfway lift, bend your front knee, nice and slow. Carefully press yourself to the top of your mat. Feet hip width distance and parallel. Inhale, long spine, half lift. Exhale, fold. Pour your weight forward into your toes. And on your exhales, relax the head. Maybe give it a shake. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold again. Use the strength of your core to help you fold in half. Perhaps slide your hands behind your calves to give you a little extra leverage. Fingertips down. Inhale, halfway lift, bend your left knee. Exhale, refold, keeping that right leg straight. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step your left leg back, right leg back, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your left leg. Exhale, step it forward, find lizard lunge. Hands to your instep, left foot to the left side of your mat. Inhale, lift your heart. Exhale, sink your hips back over your back knee. Find half splits. Inhale and fold, exhale. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold again. Inhale, rebend your front knee, frame your foot, press yourself forward to stand. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And we'll take a few breaths here just as we did before. Easing in. Inhale, halfway lift, long spine. Keep that length as you fold. Draw your belly button to your spine. Use the strength of your core and your hip flexors to fold in half. That is the purpose of your hip flexors. Hands behind the calves maybe. Look behind you rather than forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Bend your right knee. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step back. Downward facing dog. Big toes touch, child's pose. As we start to near our peak pose, getting closer and closer to our attempt of Hanumanasana, remember to let go of all expectation you have for this shape and what you think it should look like or feel like in your body. Remembering that there are some days where shapes come really naturally and some days where they feel like you've never done them before. So take a deep breath in and cleanse your mind with a big exhale. Rise up and find downward dog. Inhale, lift your right leg up high. Exhale, right knee lands on the outside of your right wrist. Pivot your shin bone. Lower down to Pigeon Pose. Untuck your back toes. Start by tenting your fingertips, or, as I'm doing here, using a block at any height and creating a back bend here in this hip opener, really similar to the splits, at least in that back leg. And then let that go, forward fold, rest your head on something, and breathe into your right hip. Next inhale, rise back up, curl your back toes, lift your hips up and back, downward dog, circle out your right leg, flush out that hip. Both feet down to the mat when you're ready. Inhale, lift your left leg. Exhale, pigeon on the left side. Remembering your knee is on the outside of the wrist. Back toes untucked. Tent your fingertips or use a block to create that back bend. Feel that depth in the front of the thigh. And then let that go. Ease into a forward fold. Inhale, rise up. Send that left leg up and back, three-legged dog, circle it out. And then when you're ready, lower it down. The time has come. Have your blocks nearby. Lift your right leg forward, step it forward, and lower your back knee, low lunge. From here, find half splits. Hips over your back knee, front foot flexed, and then option to stay here. You always have a choice. Option to do as I'm doing, hang out in half splits, and focus on moving towards finding length in the spine, almost as if you're trying to arch the low back. Or lift back up, wiggle your front foot forward, wiggle your back leg back, wiggle forward, wiggle back, ensuring that you have an even amount of effort in both legs. It's not all hamstring, it's not all hip flexor. Even though my little snag I had the day before was in the back of my knee, doing this bothered it with my left leg back. So I have my toes curled because that seemed to make it feel a little bit better, but your back toes can be untucked. And use your blocks for support. Keep your spine lifted. So we're trying to train ourselves to do the splits with even hips and our heart lifted up. Deep breaths here. You're probably feeling a lot of sensation, especially if, like me, the shape does not come naturally to you. This is where practice becomes a practice of self-regulation. Ease your mind. And then to come out, slowly inch your back leg in, pull your front leg back, take your time. And then when you're ready, find downward dog. Coming out of this pose slowly and mindfully, super important. Other side, lift your left leg, step it forward, and lower your back knee. Find half splits first. Flex your front foot, take an inhale, and exhale, fold. Now pause here in your half splits, enjoying this, or begin to head to your full splits. I took a few extra breaths in Hanumanasana because I wasn't sure how the back of my knee was going to feel. But for whatever reason, it felt okay in this position, so I'm going to journey into full splits, wiggling the front foot forward, back leg back, inching my way down. Remember bringing your hands under your shoulders for support. We're not using blocks under our legs because that's going to stunt us. We want to use gravity, but we also want to use strength. So a little magnetization of your feet together, keeping your chest lifted so that you have to use a bit of active energy here rather than just collapsing. No matter what you're feeling, steady your breath. Smooth breaths in, slow breaths out. Lean forward, nice and slow. Wiggle your back leg in. Wiggle your front leg in. Take your time. You can see I use my hand to help me. And then step back, downward dog. Go ahead and lower down to your knees. Just adjusting my mat real quick. And then come on down to your back. Have a block and take it with you. Let's find supported bridge pose. Sliding your block on the medium setting underneath your sacrum, that triangle-shaped bone right above your glutes. Perhaps bringing your legs forward a little bit more and nice and wide so that you feel really supported and steady here. Arms anywhere that feels right. Shoulders gently tucked under your chest. And just breathe here. Take just a few more breaths here. Feeling the natural calming qualities of this supported inversion. Perhaps using this time to further meditate on your intention or contemplate your body and how it's feeling now at the end of your practice after the journey you've been on. Step your feet in, lift your heels, and press down. Lift your hips and remove your block. Come into constructive rest, soles of the feet planted on the edges of your mat, knees touching. Pull your knees into your chest. Give yourself a hug, rock side to side. Lower your feet down. Scoot your hips to the left side of your mat, but drop your knees to the right, supine twist. Left arm to a T, gaze to the left. Inhale through center. Move your hips to the right, drop your knees to the left. Right arm to a T and gaze to the right. Inhale, come back to center. Draw the knees in. Give yourself a final hug or happy baby pose, rocking side to side. And slowly begin to unwind, setting yourself up for your resting pose. Either constructive rest, or perhaps bringing pillows or a bolster under the knees, or traditional shavasana. Take a deep breath in and sigh it out, exhale. Enjoy your rest. Without moving just yet, take a big breath in through your nose and a big exhale. Slowly reach the arms up and overhead. Arch the spine, big stretch before rolling over onto your favorite side on an exhale. Don't force yourself to rush here. Settle into your fetal position, holding yourself in this comforting, nourishing shape, maintaining all this soft energy you've created, and savoring this restfulness you feel as you think of one thing you feel grateful for, and slowly make your way up to a comfortable seat. Bring your palms together in Anjali Mudra, bow your head to your heart. Return to the intention you set for your personal practice today as you thank yourself for making it to your mat. Showing up is the most difficult part of your practice, and you've done more than that. Let's seal this practice in by drawing in a deep inhale and exhale. Namaste. Thank you so much for practicing with me. I'll see you soon.